Hey everybody, my name is Mychaeltodd of Robinson-Hokerk, and I'm going to tell you about a story that happened this week on Facebook with me and one of my Facebook friends. And the story is centered around a young woman who, well, a lot of young women, and the majority of them were black women, as I would assume from what I've read so far, is that a Frederick man knowingly transferred HIV to women that he met in a dating app. And a friend of mine posted that story on his Facebook page, and he's an outreach HIV worker in Los Angeles. He goes by the name of Dante. And I told him that this week that I was going to post a story, because what happened is that I very seldom react to a story that I see online that really doesn't affect me. But when something affects me and I feel like I have something else to say about it and really want to be heard, I go online and do what I do. I'll make a video and I'll talk about it. I'll even rant about it, you know, if need be. But there's not a whole lot of things that really affects me that will upset me where I feel like I have to do a little bit more outreach. And the bottom line is that we see stories online all the time. We can walk away from them. We can say we have to and keep it moving. You ain't got to keep going back and forth with a person. That's one thing that I'm not going to do, because I'm too old to be going back and forth, especially with some of these young cats on Facebook about interracial dating, HIV and AIDS, rap music, using the N-word, all that stuff. You know, I'm going to say what I have to, and I'm going to keep it moving. Going back and forth with you, it's not accomplishing anything except an argument where eventually you're going to end up cussing me out and calling me a snow queen because I'm married to a white guy, and you're going to talk about me being gay and all that stuff if you're straight, and you're not going to heaven. You know, all that's unnecessary conversation, because it's not going to help you in your walk. It's not going to help me, and so I say what I have to, and I keep it moving, just like I'm going to do right now. I think Dante, first of all, is doing magnificent work, all except for one thing. His attitude that he has about people that aren't HIV positive, and that the outreach that is being done today in the HIV and AIDS field, I think it's dated and it's not working, and I'll give you my reasons for it. First of all, anybody who decides that they want to go to bed with somebody that you meet on the first night, and you don't ask them their HIV status, you don't ask them whether they have any kind of STD, and they don't disclose it, and they have raw sex with you, which means they don't use a condom, no protection, I don't think that the person who's HIV negative is entirely 100% at fault. Yes, they have to take some accountability for having unprotected sex. We get that. And normally when this conversation comes up, there'll be about 100 people that'll say, well, that's their fault. That's what they get. And believe it or not, in this conversation on here, some of the women said, you know, well, that's what they get. Some of the people a lot of people that I've noticed that are HIV positive, they'll say the same thing. It's like, well, they need to protect themselves. You need to protect yourself. It's not the responsibility of the person who's HIV positive to tell you that they're HIV positive. Really? You don't think when you lay down with somebody and you're HIV positive, you shouldn't disclose it? First of all, legally, in certain states, I live in Arizona, it's not a law in Arizona where you have to disclose your HIV status. But in major cities, for example, New York, California, and some other states, you can look it up online with the CDC, cdc.org. It's illegal to sleep with somebody knowing you have a contagious disease. Whether it's HIV, herpes, you need to disclose it. And the law has changed. It used to be in a lot of states that it was a felony, and now it's been knocked down to a misdemeanor. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with them changing it from a felony to a misdemeanor. But the law protects people that are HIV negative. For years, the conversation and the outreach, as far as I'm concerned, has always been about showing compassion and helping the person who's HIV positive. That outreach is dated and it's not working anymore, because there's a lot of people that are turning up that are HIV negative or turning up HIV positive. So I think the outreach should be a little bit more radical where you tell people that are HIV negative, if you're HIV negative and you want to stay HIV negative, then there's things that you can do to protect yourself. Not just asking the person that you're going to bed with, are you HIV positive? First of all, you can't believe them or trust them. So you, as far as I'm concerned, you should treat everybody as if they're HIV positive. So what I'm saying, that a person who's HIV negative, if you want to stay HIV negative, there's things that you can do. You can take a medication. It's an HIV blocker, and it's called Truvada. And I don't think they stress it enough, and people don't talk about it enough. But if you're out here sleeping around with people and you don't want to catch HIV and you're negative, go to your doctor and tell your doctor that, put you on Truvada. The medication itself is very expensive, but you can get it free in some cities. If you contact the drug manufacturer, you can get it for free, but you have to take a test every 3 months with your healthcare provider. And as long as you keep coming back HIV negative, you'll get the medication for free. What I felt that was really negative in the story that got me upset is the fact that as soon as the women were found to be HIV positive and they had slept with this guy, everybody started going off on the women. Well, that's their fault. They probably didn't ask him, was he HIV positive? And I bet you nobody asked that question. They probably went straight to bed with this guy and didn't care about all that. And the bottom line is, first of all, you don't know what those women asked him. You don't know whether he lied about it or not. He knew he was HIV positive. He would get with a woman and he would be with her, and after a while he would refuse to wear a condom. He wanted to do it raw. So he wouldn't, as soon as he refused to stop having sex with him until he could do it raw, after a while, when he started doing it raw with him, he left, he disappeared. So yeah, he started off using condoms, and then he said, well, I don't want to use condoms no more. And so he wouldn't. And the women had sex with him, and it goes back to, yeah, you got to protect yourself. But no, he knowingly knew he had HIV, and he gave these women the virus. I think that's foul. I think anytime you sleep with somebody, you should tell them your status. And what I'm starting to find out is that the argument that's happening online in some of these chat rooms and different things that's happening on social media, you'll find a lot of HIV positive people who feel, they shouldn't have to disclose if they're having random sex with somebody. Not all HIV positive people feel like this, but the majority of them, when they get online and they start saying stuff, well, you got to take care of yourself. You keep telling a story that we already know. We know we have to protect ourselves. We know we need to ask. But the bottom line is, in the first line in that conversation, you should be saying, hey, I'm HIV positive. There's a lot of people out here in relationships with people that are HIV positive. They're not running from you guys. They're not. Nobody's shutting you away. We have compassion for people that are HIV positive. But you need to start having a little bit of compassion for people that are HIV negative. If that was the case, do you think that it was okay for a person who you contracted HIV from not to tell you? If that person would have told you, your status would be different. But now that you have HIV, do you have an attitude where you're saying, well, I'm not going to tell anybody, nobody told me. And that's what I got from the conversation. The first thing you want to do is point the finger at the women. I don't care whether the women asked or they didn't ask. All I'm concerned about is that the man should have disclosed his HIV status first. And you can get mad at me and say whatever you want to. Nobody's trying to HIV bash anybody. I'll be 61 years old this year, and I had too many friends in my lifetime die from HIV and AIDS. Too many funerals that I went to. And I was even in a relationship with somebody where they hid their HIV status from me, where we had a committed relationship, where we had a ceremony and everything. And I asked the question, I'm always concerned about my HIV status. And yes, I get tested regularly. And yes, I'm not out here, I'm not out here ripping and running the streets and sleeping with anybody either. That's not, so you know what, after a while, that stuff is tired and it's done. When you get in a committed relationship and you marry somebody, you don't have time for all that BS. It's unnecessary, and just having random sex, you're putting yourself in a situation where you can really end up being killed because you don't know who you're taking home. You can be taking home somebody who's not wrapped too tight up in their head, and they don't care whether you tell them or not. But the bottom line is, you don't went home with some mass murderer. And so there's all kind of situations where you can end up hurt, and you can also end up hurt when you sleep with somebody and you're HIV positive and you don't tell them. And once they find out that they're HIV positive because of you, you put yourself in a situation where you can also end up getting killed because people will react differently. And if that was to happen to someone, especially somebody that I know, you think the first thing coming out of my mouth is, well, that's what they get. No, There's something that's called compassion and consideration. And there should never be a time that we get in our life where we become so bitter towards people that are suffering. And I think there are situations where people that are HIV positive, where they are suffering, but a lot of people that have HIV, they're not suffering because they're taking that one pill a day, they're doing what they're supposed to do, they're going to the gym, they're eating the kind of food that they need to eat, they're doing all the right things. But for these other people who think that it's really okay, and that's what you get, And passing out the condoms at the airport, at the clubs, I guess even in some churches, all that's fine and that's standard, but it's not working. There needs to be some new radical outreach. And my radical outreach would be, listen, if you're HIV negative and you want to stay HIV negative, this is what you have to do. I asked the question, if the person doesn't ask you about your status, do you think you have the right to keep your mouth shut and not disclose? If you have a random sex with somebody, do you think you should keep your mouth shut and not have to disclose? Is it okay to continue having sex without disclosing, even if you're just dating? When is it okay to have sex without disclosing? When you're married? You should disclose your HIV status as soon as you find out if you have a sexual active partner and everybody that you've probably been with in the last, 2 to 3 months. And as far as when it comes to statistics, where, there's epidemics of syphilis, HIV, where it's really high at, I went right online to CDC and I went to the HIV surveillance and I got a report. It'll tell you the amount of HIV cases in your local area, between what races, how they're contracted between a man and a woman, between a man and a man, a woman and a woman, HIV, and drug use, it'll give you the statistics. It really breaks it down, but I'm not here to give you the statistics and all that stuff. If you want to know, just Google, go to a reputable source and just Google all that information. I'm not here to give you the numbers and all that stuff, but I know there are epidemics in major cities where, people are still contracting HIV on the regular, and more women are coming down with the virus, and it's still not being tackled the way that it should be tackled with the outreach that they're doing. I just think the outreach is just dated. We need to do something a little bit more radical. I sent a letter out to 3 different executives about radical outreach and what can be done or how can we do it differently. And I sent a letter to 3 executive directors, one in Oakland, one in Columbus, Ohio, and one in Los Angeles. And those are 3 of the cities that I used to live in. And the director, the chief executive officer, the CEO of the Los Angeles LGBT Center, it's a woman, her name is Lori L. Jean. She's the only person who responded back, and she agreed with me. Yes, there needs to be a different kind of outreach. It needs to be a little bit more radical. And as far as people not disclosing, people aren't disclosing their HIV status when they sleep with people. And so what happens? These HIV negative people turn into HIV positive people. I wish there was something else that could be done so that we can all get on the same accord. But one thing that I am not going to do is sit up here and forget about the people that are still HIV negative, like myself and other people that are trying to protect their health. Keeping your mouth shut about your status is, as far as I'm concerned, is just a fucked up situation for everybody. That's the only way that I can say it. I try not to cuss, but every now and then, I gotta slip that F word up in there. It's a fucked up situation for everybody. So, this is my rebuttal about that whole conversation. I'm sure I left out some things, and I'm sure I've been pissed some people off. But my brothers and my sisters who's out here active and sleeping around and having random sex with people, ask the person that you're sleeping with, are they positive? Do that first. Don't take their word for it and have unprotected sex. And for my brothers and sisters that are out here that are positive, let that be the first thing out of your mouth. Say it. Don't waste your time. Don't get into a relationship where it's gone on for months and you tell them, at the midnight hour, I'm HIV positive. You might find out that you didn't waste your time, or you might find out that you did waste your time, and now you got somebody just really upset. So just be honest. And that's my 2 cents. That's all I have to say for right now. I'll talk about Wendy Williams and Avion and Kevin Hunter and all that stuff some other time. I'll even talk about T.S. Madison and that Norfolk drama that she had with her promoter. That was a whole lot. And what else am I missing? I guess we'll talk about Dr. Sebe and his situation with his ex-wives. And believe it or not, I get a lot of my gossip from Tasha K. Tasha K comes up with some good dirt. All right, love y'all. Talk to y'all later. Peace.